welcome back to the Better Men, Better Ball Player podcast. I'm your host, Trey Cobb. I want to thank you for joining us here today with a great episode with head coach at Archbishop Moeller High School, Tim Held. Coach Held, this is his 25th year at Moeller, 14th season as the head coach at Moeller, where they've taken 7 trips to the Final Four in the state of Ohio. They're 4-time Ohio State champion in 2009, 2012, 2013, and 2015. 8-time Conference Coach of the Year, 4-time City Coach of the Year. In 2015 and 17, he was the perfect game All-American assistant coach for the East team. He's had 12 players drafted off his team, dozens of players going to college. 2010 State Coach of the Year. I mean, the resume is impressive. For a coach at Archbishop Moeller with the rich tradition of Archbishop Moeller. And for those people that don't know, Archbishop Moeller is where Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Larkin went to high school. So, but you'll never know if a coach Held, extremely humble, and a man very fortunate to get to know the cousin of Tom Held, Defiance High School, who I had on the show a couple podcast episodes ago, and I got to know Tim, and she's an incredible teacher and knows how to run a very solid program. And when we get to hear that all throughout this, and we cover a ton of different things from the technology that he's getting into his program to the culture and the standards of them trying to make good people at Moeller High School. So, enjoy this. I know I really did, and we had a great conversation. I get to talk to Coach Held every ABCA, so it's unfortunate that we get to see each other this year at the ABCA Coaches Convention. So, really glad we were able to do this. We sat on many hotel rooms till late in the morning talking baseball, and today was nothing different. It was like we just sat there yesterday. So can't thank him enough, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this conversation with us. And as he just dives into his program, you get a really in-depth look about what they do at Moeller and the great program, the great coach, the great man that Tim Held is. So without further ado, here he is, head coach, Archbishop Moeller, Tim Held.
Well, when I started there, I didn't know what I was getting into. Like I was, from this little town called Bryan, Ohio. I ventured out a little bit after high school, went to Ohio Wesleyan University in Delaware. That's right outside Columbus for a year and a half. And then figured I was buried on the depth chart. So at Christmas, my sophomore year, I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm coming home. What are you going to do? I was like, I've already filled all the paperwork out and everything. Came back and went to Defiance College, which is 25 minutes from Bryan. Finished my career there. And when I finished playing, finished my student teaching, and started looking for jobs, like I'm interviewing all over the place. And finally a friend of my cousin was like, I'm leaving Moeller High School in Cincinnati. I'm going to coach basketball. You need to call this guy. And this guy was the assistant principal and the basketball coach. So I go and interview there. I'm walking around Moeller and people are like, this is like where, they're like Bobby Brandon. It was the hot name right then, playing at the University of Cincinnati. He had just graduated a couple years before. And I was like, okay, Bobby Brandon, like acting like I knew the college basketball scene. So I go in the gym, they're like, this is the gym. And I mean, the gym was like held maybe 1,000 people, and like the floor was all slippery and hadn't been refinished in 20 years. I'm thinking, this is Moeller High School. So I get hired there, and then start really hearing the stories about Jerry Faust and all the football tradition. Like I didn't know any of that stuff, very quickly, after an interview or so, I knew it was where Griffey and Larkin were at, started piecing the baseball together with Buddy Bell, but did not know all the names and the people that had gone through there. So kind of, awe-inspiring. And I was 23 years old, and I tell people, like, when they gave me a classroom, I just kind of hid in there. Like I didn't want them to know where I was because I didn't want to screw anything up, if they didn't see me, maybe they wouldn't put me to work or wonder where that guy's supposed to be. So first few years just kind of hit out, tried to see how everything worked. But the place is incredible and great people, and people have been there 40, 45 years. Been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, 25 years in, man. Like, so, of course, now you're not the one hiding. That's for sure. Everybody knows who Tim Held is. That's for sure. So, how have things really changed for you, like especially culture wise? From when you started for where you are now.
I coached basketball. Like I got in because of the basketball coach. So I
Yeah.
played high school basketball and that was it, and coached like some 7th grade basketball. So got in because of that. So went and talked to the baseball coach. Mike Cameron had been there at that point, had been there, I don't know, 20 years, 25 years himself. Coached Griffey, coached Larkin, coached Buddy Bell, Billy Long, all these just major leaguers. And the rules then were you could only have 2 coaches on the freshman, 2 on the JV, 2 on the varsity. And he's like, I'm full. I don't have any spots for you. So I'm coaching basketball, but it's kind of staying in contact with him. And then in January, he's like, hey, you still interested in baseball? I'm like, yeah. So we go and talk, and the coach left in January. And so that first year I got hired. So I did 3 years with the freshmen as an assistant coach, and then still coaching basketball. Not even really dating anybody or anything. Like it was school, and then I'd go to basketball practice, see what the baseball team's doing, or the other way around. And I get home like at 7:30, 8 o'clock. My roommates thought I was the greatest roommate because I was never there. I paid my rent, so they didn't have to deal with me. And then I found out like a JV coach was leaving. And so I busted out of practice one day, basketball practice. I went and found Coach Cameron. I was like, hey, I heard the JV assistant's leaving. I'd like to move up. He's like, I don't know if that's going to work. We got to see if that's going to work with your basketball schedule. And I was like, well, coach, I quit basketball then. And he was like, whoa, you don't need to do that. So we got it worked out with basketball and JV baseball. I went and did that. I was a JV assistant for 2 years. So kind of still figuring out how I'm not even, I'm 27, 28 years old now. And then they had relaxed the rules a little bit on how many coaches there could be, and 2 varsity assistants left. And so me and the head JV coach went up to the varsity. And so then I was 6 years as an assistant for Coach Cameron before he retired. So he was there 39 years, won 760 games, just a legend in Ohio. And so getting to learn under him, but also those first 5 years getting to learn under Carl Kramer, our basketball coach, who's still there, and I think in the last 5 years, he's only lost like 10 games, in basketball. So just figuring out, watching their culture and how they cultivated things was incredible. And then to get that job, I'd never been a head coach at any level. And then to get the head coaching job was, I told him I knew what I was doing, but I didn't know what I was doing.
We're all like that. That's what we all say when we first get a job. You're being young. You're just trying to get your first gig. You know it all.
Right. I got this. I know what's going on.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. Just an incredible tradition there at Moeller, man. Incredible. So like thinking about, it's a big step, man, taking over for like a guy like that, Coach Cameron, how, and you've, looking back on it now, you can say, but I'm sure those are pretty some nerve-wracking first years.
Right. I mean, my wife was pregnant with our second son when I get that job, and 1 month into school, she has that baby. So I'm trying to teach my classes. I'm trying to put together what I want for the baseball program. And we've got one that's up, all night, plus a 3-year-old. So that first year was absolutely crazy. But, like one of the things Coach Cameron taught me was like, even though was, whatever, early 60s. I mean, that guy, when he would go to the clinic, he was the guy that sat in the front row, always taking notes, never assumed that he knew everything about the game. And I think, he was a teacher. And I think him being a teacher, myself being a teacher, like we're always trying, like, what's next? What's going to make things better? What's going to make my practice better? What's going to make my players better? So I think I learned that from him, and that's what I continue to do. So when I took over for him, there were so many things that I wanted to do with the program that I didn't even know who I was taking over for.
Okay.
So I was so lost in all of it that I didn't know, I didn't know how deep I was in it. But there were things I wanted to bring in from technology and, try, new equipment that I'd seen at the clinics and all those things. So, started to bring some of those pieces in, and then all of a sudden the season starts, and the roster I inherited in for 2008, my first year, was incredible. Like, I had a guy going to Ohio State and a guy going to Marshall, and a guy going to pitch at Harvard. I had dudes. But all of a sudden, we're 2-3 in our first 5 games. And so I was like, we gotta adjust some things. I had a dad send me an email like with probably 50 different things. Like, we should, here's what I've seen on the field or not seen on the field. Coach, you might want to work on these things. And my response was simply, talk to your son about our practice plans, because we've worked on all those things. So that's where we're at with our team. And then we heated up, and we ended up going to the Final Four that first year in 2008. And we're like 25-5 or 25-7 after starting out 2-3. So just needed that coming together. And it's always happened at Moeller. Like, we don't have a field on campus. We practiced in this activity center. So when we got outside and played our first scrimmage, first games, that was our first time outside. We were pretty always, slow starters.
Right.
So that's what happened. Same thing happened in 2009 as well. And we ended up winning a state championship, but we started out 2-3, and people asking the kids, what's wrong? What's going on? Just be patient, Yeah. So always interesting.
Yeah, it takes a while when you can't. Yeah, your first game is the first time you get on the field. It takes a while. Imagine playing basketball the first time you actually got in your gym, the first game. Right. Like, it's not even fathomable,
Right. Just shoot at this basket, and then we're gonna maybe kind of practice just the big guys, and then just the perimeter guys, and then we're gonna throw you all together. Yeah, go play your game.
Go figure it out. Yeah, sure you play great.
Right.
Gosh, yeah, I love North baseball. But oh man, just so from then on, it was just so you brought in some more technology, so you continue to do these kind of things, like you kind of continue to bring in maybe technology, or you're looking at newer things that you've done. What are some things that you've brought in that you think it really made a big impact?
I tried to. I mean, started to get into the video, and somebody brought in, like, it was before Right View Pro, and then I go and invest all this money in Right View Pro, and then the next year, like, iPads, got ridiculously low priced to where nobody bought that equipment because you could just film it on your phone. That video got good enough for the iPad. So it was doing video, because, before it was, film it, and, you had the mini cassette tapes, had to go kind of try and figure out how to splice that out or find that guy. So we didn't do much of that. So it started with the filming, and then in 2014, because we don't have a field, and I'm not like setting aside a certain amount of money for new turfus or seed or anything, I got to spend, the money that we fundraised on, like, toys. And so 2014, I'm talking to these guys at the clinic, and the hit trax guys, and they're like, we're not in any high schools. And I'm like, well, throw a price out. So come back, look at my budget, look what I got, do a little bit extra fundraising, and they sell me hit trax for like a low price, because they just needed to get units out there.
Yeah.
So we've had that since 2014. And again, we're training inside, so much. So, I still look today at balls we hit in the cage, and I'm like, oh, we'd totally call that a foul ball. And it's a base hit between the first and second baseman, so there's no more arguing about that stuff. They're seeing, kids are getting that, seeing what they think is real ball flight and seeing real results. So adding that piece was huge. And then just recently trying to get into blast and Rapsodo and all those pieces.
I love how you said, like, hit trax is just actually you get the real ball flight, like, to actually see what actually happened. Because I know it's always like you always hear on Twitter and things like that, but listen, the argument of like that ball hits up straight up at the
Right.
top. I'm sure that's really changed kind of your communication maybe, or just the way that you got to approach like in the cage?
Right. So, at first, keep everything off the top of the net. And then it was what we were all taught growing up. And then you see hit trax comes in and the guy hits a screamer off the back of the net. And everybody's like, yes, that was great. And it's like line out to the pitcher, or it got over the pitcher's head, but it's a 3-hopper that the shortstop fields. Like it's not good enough. Like you do need to hit the top of the net. But, and we've put the lines up. So if we don't turn hit trax on a day, or if they're hitting off the tee, they know what line they need to be under, try and kind of pick that 15-degree marker. But hit trax has really shown them like, if I can put the ball here, it's a hit, 75% of the time. It's tough. The hit trax has hurt us a little bit as far as kids kind of in that sophomore year, junior year, and they get stronger. They just want to go up there and try to hit balls out. So my guys haven't figured out, but I put them all in as college guys. And then it's a little tough. The fields are bigger. Yeah. Fielders are better. So if they listen to this, they'll figure this out. But but if not, they don't know that I've got them in as college level.
That's smart. See, always get an edge, coach. It's awesome.
It took me like 5 years to figure that out.
No, man, I love that. I love that. Especially so for most people, they're not talking about when you're talking about the lines, you're talking about, so you probably have a 0-degree line. Not zero, I guess you could say. What, I guess you have 3?
No, all I put in was a line on the top of the net. That is going to give them a 15-degree line. Okay. So I didn't put the lines. Like I've seen the guys that put it on the sides of the cage.
So you just have the one like at the top.
Yeah, one at the top. So, it's down, whatever. I'm a math teacher. So I was like, okay, we're calling this cage trig. And so we had to do the tees about 2 feet high. And so how far out we needed to be with the height of our cages. So, trying to teach them that and where they're supposed to be. And, trying to get them to repeat that swing, especially the younger guys.
So I guess that's my question too. So let's say you bring in a freshman who not very strong, not very physical. Is he still trying to hit that same line? Or are you going to tell him a little bit differently? Or is it at least just like a starting point where you can say, if you can hit it like this exit velocity, or if you can hit it this hard, then we're going to be here.
I'll usually give them that target to hit at.
Okay.
So in the 2 cages, I have the lines, and in another cage, there's a screen that's protecting a machine. So I'm like, you're trying to go right above that bar, trying to give them that external cue. And then I know I've told the freshmen a few times, it's how many, remember that. Usually more with the freshmen, I'm trying to tell them like, hey, if the coach tells you you're hitting 10 balls off the tee, perfect tee, whatever, mid thigh high, you're catching it off the front of the plate. You're trying to put 7 of 10, in the same spot. If you can't, then you can't control that barrel, and so trying to get them to come and watch the juniors and seniors who can hit 7 out of 10 to that same location. They can repeat that swing and control the barrel. And then, we try to do the inside outside with the same thing, and none of the young kids can take the outside pitch and hit it the other way. It still ends up being a ground ball at the pitcher or at the shortstop, but trying to get them to figure that out and how we twist things in the cage so that they know they have a focus when they get in there, or should have a focus when they get in there.
So you mostly like to do that just off the tee?
That's off the tee, kind of like a warm up.
Yeah.
So I call it 10-10-10. Like I do 10 middle, 10 inside, 10 outside. And we'll have them turn, like they'll physically turn their body so that they have to still hit the ball down the long part of the cage.
So they can see the flight of it and see the angle. Sure.
Yeah. Instead of saying inside and they hit the ball right into the side of the net.
Yeah.
So we'll get them to turn, and some of them, that's really interesting, watching them sit there and think and talk to their partner of how they need to turn the plate and their body and where they need to stand. Like, as
absolutely.
You find
it's a hitting lesson in itself.
Right. And so we do that. And then to challenge the older kids, I tell them that when they're doing their 10-10-10, they can't hit more than 2 balls in the same lane at the same height or depth. So the partner has to be raising, lowering the tee. Like if they're in the outside lane, he's got to be raising and lowering that tee, moving it forward, moving it back, So they're always trying to get that barrel awareness of, can they square up a ball? Because you're not going to catch every outside pitch, in the same spot.
Oh, sure. No, even the adjustability is what's cool too,
Right.
And so will you even go like outside? They have to go inside with your 10, 10, and 10, like just kind of switching up lanes too.
Right. Well, they're going to do like 10 middle, and I don't care what order they go in, but 10 10
Yeah.
10 middle, then 10
Yeah.
in, then 10 out. And so if I want to throw another drill into it, I might call it 6-6-6 that day, because I want them to do something else on the tee while they're all doing it at the same time. But then back to where you said, then when we're hitting flips or whatever, they're still shooting for under that line. And then hit trax lets you like pull up a report. I can go in there and see, oh, this kid hit 40 balls today. I can do a session review and see, I can then sort it by like launch angle. And nearly every time, you just look from about 10 degrees to 20 degrees, 8 degrees to 22 degrees. They're batting 850, no matter how hard they hit the ball. So to open their eyes, like, oh, if I keep that ball at the line, I got a great chance of a hit.
And really, no matter how like strong the kid is, it's really just a matter of just trying to be between 8 and 15 is what you're really looking for.
Because actually, like, think around 20 degrees, if you hit the ball even like 60 miles an hour, it's like enough to get over the middle infielder's head.
That's like a blooper.
Yeah. So like some freshman, that's smoking one. So they better hit it at that line.
It's a freshman bomb.
Exactly.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I just love the external cues though too. Like you're not telling nobody much stuff, but it's like, and then you can see. Will that actually do like hard hit balls too? Or I guess hard hit balls are really just like their exit velocity, right?
Yeah. So hit trax calls it a hard hit average.
Okay.
And so it takes it always on the screen is your 6-month high distance and exit velo. And so when you hit a ball, the exit velo will light up green if you're within 10% of your hardest hit ball.
Oh, okay.
So you're always getting that. So you could tell, like, you make up 1,000 games. Like I'll tell them, you gotta go opposite field. I'm gonna flip to the outer half. You need to go opposite field. And the manager today, he's gonna keep track of how many you hit in green. Or I'll tell them, hey, today's flips or whatever BP, you hit 2 balls over 25 degrees, your round's over. No matter if that's the first 2 or can you get through the whole round.
Yeah, it's so nice to do that.
So, and then you can do that. You can do that with the ropes too. You hit 2 in front of the rope, round's over.
No,
so just trying to get, always thinking of things to try and get them competing and challenging themselves instead of just taking mindless swings.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, the proof was in the pudding. Like, and you pull your chart, and now they're hitting so much, and they can see that it's there. And that's why I think that such the new school of technology. It's like, look, we're just kind of taking the guesswork out of it. We're kind of taking just the eyes out of it, like we're like, and a lot of times people need to say like, why? Like that's a lot of times the difference. I don't know about you, but I mean, I've heard a lot of guys coach someone like, you got to start with why and tell guys, here's why we're doing it. And it's almost like you're been showing them.
Right. The biggest thing like with COVID is I dove all into Eugene Bleecker and his 108 performance guys.
Yeah.
And, that's probably the only good thing that's come out of COVID is, I got to read that book and take all his courses and do his mentorship program. And so coming back this fall in Ohio, we're allowed to work with 6 guys at a time. Okay. Kind of like a college individuals. So the rest of the guys can be in the weight room or, with the strength coach doing running or something, but I can pull 6 hitters and we can go up to the cages and work. And so to be able to go through all of his pieces and throw the water bags at him or all his different drills at him. But to what you said, like being able to tell the kids, like, this is what you should feel, this is why we're doing this. Like it has really helped them, explaining that piece up front, then letting them take 3 swings, or whatever and saying, what did you feel? And found a lot of drills with different guys that they can't do it, whether it's a movement issue with them or just they can't, they need to do it a few times before they get the feel of it. But it's really helped them as to what we're working on each day. Now I can say the name of the drill, and they know what part they're working on, whether it's lower half, keeping the front side in, or whatever it is.
Yeah, great stuff with Eugene. So like, it's funny, like, and I get kind of this too, like depending on like kind of where you were kind of at, like, do you feel yourself like kind of just staying in like the Eugene Bleecker mode, and losing maybe some things that you used to do, or are you trying to blend all that together?
I always like struggled with trying to teach a kid like mechanics
Yeah,
or
me too.
talk about that stuff when I haven't seen them play outside.
Mm-hmm.
So in summer here, like everybody goes and 2 kids are on this club team and 3 are on that one and one's over there, and heck, one's not even playing in state. He's constantly on the road. So to talk mechanical things, like we would talk about kind of generalities. And I think like the Bleecker stuff's really helped then just talk movement and where should your body be at certain points, and trying to kind of have this minimalist piece to create that maximum velocity. So it's helped me with that part, because I would usually stay pretty quiet with the mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
And then now blending it, now that we're after Christmas here, starting to blend it with what I want to do approach wise, that I think helps our guys with the competition that we face.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of what he's saying, the old school and the new school.
Yeah, gotta blend them, man. Absolutely, you gotta, and it's because it's really about what's happening now. I like guys that they say like I'm part of the now school. Like what can we do, and then bring in like you have an expertise, but and we're telling the guys to do these kind of things. I think it's just good leadership of, um, like you said, blending what we have and then what we're continuing to learn.
Right. So it's going well, and we'll continue to kind of get away from all the mechanical things. We have some drills that we think really work great for them, so we can say with our setup, as we're doing more live stuff or more machine stuff, like, hey, we need you to do these 3 drills. And as I get better with blast and my coaches get better with it, we're trying to kind of put the guys in groups. And so we know who needs work on early connection, and then kind of I'll type it up on paper and kind of throw it at their feet and say, hey, when you get to this station, this T spot, you can work on your these guys need work on early connection. Here's 3 drills you could do here. You pick, you need help rotational acceleration. All right, here's 3 drills. You pick what you want to do. So trying to give the older guys that ownership of what's going to help. And then they're asking, can we do blast again? Can we test? I think I got better. And that's when I feel like, okay, I got you.
That's right.
Like you want to know that things are getting better, then we're all heading in the right direction.
I guess one of my things right now is like, man, I'm sure maybe your brain is turned to this, and seeing a correlation between the blast and your hit trax data, like if there's going to be any correlation between what you're seeing with guys based on their blast numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like I think like obviously the high bat speed guys will have higher exit velos, but I have a couple guys that are going 95 plus exit velos, and I can't say when I look at their blast numbers, I couldn't pick them out. Say that's why they're the 95 plus. So that's kind of where I'm heading now, is trying to figure that answer out. So about 6 weeks ago, I was talking to a couple of my coaches, and I was like, look, this data, like we're getting this, we got hit trax, you can dig into 1,000 reports. We don't even scratch the surface there. We got blast, trying to do that with 3 sensors. The pitching coaches are running Rapsodo. Don't even get me started with that. I don't even know like how to log in. I'm like, you guys got all that. And so they're like, well, can we hire somebody? I'm like, well, yeah, we'll always take volunteers. Yeah. So I put like a job description together and said, we're looking for a director of analytics and video.
Yeah.
And probably had 15 or 18 people.
No way.
Contact me. Yes. I was like, okay, if we get 3 and get somebody like 15, 18 people.
Wow. To volunteer.
Yes.
It's incredible. That's awesome.
So we're just kind of getting that off the ground kind of this week. getting this guy, a young guy that's played in college, and he's done some work. He's worked with the Reds and the Astros a little bit, and it's what he wants to do with his career. So, we're helping him. He's helping us, but trying to use him to not coach at practice, but what do you want us to collect? What video do you want us to collect? What blast? What can we do with hit tracks? Which guys do we really need to look at? And all that. So it's going to be pretty exciting and take some of that stuff off my plate.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering, honestly. Like, one of my next things was like thinking, like, just asking, like, part of your, like, your routine after practice and stuff, when you're pulling all these numbers, because it's such purposeful practice is what's awesome about it. Like, it's so purposeful and deliberate. But like, how did you manage it? I know you're a numbers guy, so you love them, but like, what was like before you had this guy, like, because you've had it since 2014 with hit tracks,
right,
and everything else. Like, what was your your routine that you would do to collect it and analyze it?
Early on, it was just that getting that feedback of where we were hitting the ball and who our strongest were, and playing some of the games inside there, because you can play an actual game if you make lineups. So when you get to this early season and the pitchers are throwing, like, you can run it at bat and and have your orders, and kids are running all around your cages because all of a sudden the inning flips over and you're ready. But digging into that, like, no, it's overwhelming. I didn't do 10% of what was all inside there, because you can look at hot zones and all those things. So I'm getting better at that. But we use it more to make sure that practice, they had an intent when they got in there. Like, I wanted to make sure, and they wanted to see their numbers pop. So they got in there, they were taking real swings. You didn't have a guy going through the motions. He's a 92 top exit velo for the last 6 months. If he's hitting at 75,
that's right.
like, Johnny, let's go. Like, turn it up, or, go to them, get out of here. So never, and I've never had to say that to a kid, because they know when they get in that hit tracks cage, okay, it's time to show off right now. Let's see if how close I can get to matching my numbers. With blast, I mean, it's kind of what drove me to get this position.
Yeah.
I mean, I only felt like I could do blast like once a month, because of what it takes during practice, because we're working with 3 sensors. So trying to have 3 sensors, 3 devices collecting that data right there, and then to go home at night and then pull it all out and put it in a spreadsheet.
Yep.
And match it up with where they're at, and are they progressing? And so I was like, it's not even worth what I'm paying for these sensors.
Right.
So you need somebody to look at it more. And I love all that stuff. But then I'm like, oh my gosh, I just added this. And then I'm looking at the JV coaches or the freshman coaches going, I want you to do blast. And they're like, Coach, where do I put it on the bat? How do I set up the iPads?
Right.
So I gotta teach all that. So then I'm like, yes, we really need this spot to help this guy. This guy's going to help coach the coaches.
Yes. Yeah.
So it should really make the whole program better as well.
Oh, for sure. What a extremely valuable position, especially if like you're such a data-driven guy. So valuable. It's going to be, and I'm sure you'll be able to give them a great, that'll be really valuable for you guys. I mean, like I said, I think it just comes back to you, like, purposeful practice, and you're just be able to give some really purposeful stuff out of that, man. It's incredible. And then I'm sure your brain is be like, all right, well, I want to correlate this to this to see if this is, is rotational acceleration important? Is early connect, like, which of these is really important that we can then really focus on?
Right. No, yeah, it's crazy. And that's, right when I start thinking about that stuff is usually when I just fall asleep at night. So it never gets done.
Rabbit holes, man. Rabbit holes. Rabbit holes. But, oh man. And so you have an indoor facility. So you have a pretty decent indoor facility that I'm assuming that you can run all these things through.
Yeah. So, we got really lucky. So Jerry Faust coached at Moeller High School before he was hired directly to Notre Dame as their head coach. So about 2 years before he left, they built what we call the activity center. So it's just a giant pole barn. One side of it is probably like 110 by 110, big square, but it's just painted asphalt. So you can throw down there. You can't hit down there or anything, but you can throw down there. You could run an infield down there. And again, until we got turf football field and soccer field out back, like that's where we took all our ground balls until we were on a field. So we were really good at skippers.
Yeah, you were.
And then there's a second level that was a wrestling room. And it was a wrestling room until like March, and then we could pull the cages out. And so there, like right around 2000, that big tech boom, a guy donated all this money to build a new wrestling room and weight room. And so that guy, I still got to go to the wrestling coach. I'm like, I need that guy's name, because his donation to the wrestling program was the greatest thing for Moeller baseball, because it got them out of that second level to where when we put our cages out, fixed it all up, they're up all year. Yeah. So we have 4 cages up there. They're all about 65 feet long. But we can hit year round, run camps, do all that. So it's just, like I said, that's where we're at, because we don't have a field. So we're supposed to be getting a field here in about 9-10 months, have our own place to play.
And you said all turf too, right?
All turf. Yep. Just a couple miles from Moeller. So it's going to be incredible. So like all this stuff, all these notes I have from all these clinics about great indoor practices, like I got to change things up now. That's the worst thing about all the clinics being like virtual or canceled. Like I need some outdoor practice plans, because we might do it 4 times a year when I go rent a field. So I got to come up with some new BP games and change. The whole thing's getting blown up here.
So 4 state championships, 8-time coach of the, like, and you running 4 outdoor practices a year.
Yeah.
Jeez, you Pete's. Yeah.
Like we used to get made fun of. Well, we still get made fun of. Like the other coach will be like, "Hey, I'm putting you on the clock for your pregame infield." And so it used to be like, well, this is the only time we're outside. Like we're gonna take the longest infield ever, because we need this practice on, on grass field. I mean, even now, like our outdoor part of our practice, we're on campus on a soccer field. So everything, a turf soccer field. So every hop is perfect.
Right.
So, early on, I'm trying to get some scrimmages, trying to balance, like, do I try and rent University of Cincinnati so we'll get this scrimmage in and can play? But I also want to go and scrimmage at this place, or even at our current home field, because I want to be on grass and dirt, because the kids need to see those hops in March and April.
Sure. No, I surely do.
So, oh, man. Yes. I remember when 2004, we won a state championship with Coach Cameron, and somebody was like, "Coach, tell me about, your practices." It's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, just how you set them up outdoors and stuff." He goes, "We only practice outside 4 times. It's like, "We practice on asphalt." He goes, "I'd take that back 4.5 times. We went to the grade school next door to practice because it was really nice outside, but their 3rd grade girls softball team came out. So we had to get off the field. So we didn't even get to finish there,
State championship team, Moeller.
Yeah.
And kicked out by a bunch of 3rd graders.
3rd grade girls.
Oh,
like, get off our field. Their pink helmets and everything. We're out of there. So.
Oh, man, that's just even more impressive. Even more impressive. Oh, one thing. I was just saying, you said the word water bags earlier with Bleecker, because I got myself a water bag just this offseason as well. I had a guy, Jeff Sherman from Marcus High School in Texas. He did a thing with Willie Marshall from 108, and who they're going to be future guys I'm going to have on the podcast as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, super guy. But like these water bags are amazing. Like let's talk a little bit about how you're using them, and what do you like about them? How are you using them?
The best thing I like about the water bag, you're talking about the
big
long one?
Yeah, the long one you put water into, you hold it. It's basically as long as I don't know. I guess it's a little wider than
about 3 feet or so. The best thing about those is they're made to put half water in, so they're really easy to fill up. Have you put water in a physio ball lately?
Oh no.
That's it's a good hour and a half of your life, which means I'm probably doing it wrong. But we've made a couple of those as well.
Okay.
And those you better have some time to sit there and let that water trickle into that bag.
Oh,
but with the water bags, just for balance, I'll do something as simple as getting them in their stance. And, like one of the things from 108 was, they want you to land like you're riding a horse, or a sumo wrestler. So I'll put their bat, like right in front of their front foot. So they have to stride over that, but put that water bag on their back. So they feel that rotation, and you get the guy the first time he takes off and that thing sloshes back and he's catching himself. So just right now showing themselves, whoa, I'm way out of balance.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to load, and then I'm trying to hit a ball, maybe throw 90 miles an hour at me. Like, real simple that way.
Yeah.
The one I want to try, and the one I do more with like the water-filled physio ball, is just trying to get across their body, but stopping that front side. So they'll feel the slosh of the ball, and they have to control that and really brace their core. Is a good one.
I actually have done that with, like, I've had them scoop it. So like, just like had the big water, then just like scooped it, and then they just stopped. So like that kind of, I guess, kind of the same thing of what you're looking at. I just thought about it. My son was here working on it. Just like throw it and stop it. Cause like he was just like way over here, and so that was interesting. I use that, but man, I also, cause you said the word balance too, and then I was explaining this to another buddy of mine who, he owned an Extra Innings, and he loved the balance board, like remember the old, like everybody just hit on a balance board and like a 2x6 and you hit on it. Yeah. I'm like, the water bag does that. It's almost like you got to create balance. You got to make sure you have a good move, but then it's the stability of it. Then it's on top of not necessarily just the balance board. And now you got to grab the ground. You got to stabilize yourself to make sure you're really grabbing them. And it's almost like it's the balance board plus more. Like you just have to fully grab and stabilize it. Like it is a really neat concept, man. And it's really, I think can develop some really cool feels. And I like how you can do it both ways. Do you have your guys do it like right and left-handed?
I haven't had them go left-handed, because usually it's kind of like almost like in the weight room when they're supersetting something. So they're like a group of 4. So what I've found is, like, when we go to our open hitting, they want to just keep going to the machine and the flips.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, when you go in here, you're going to stay in this cage for 15 minutes. So get your 5 guys. And in here, you need to do flips. And then when you're out, when it's not your turn, like, you need to do water bag loads. That, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they got 2 or 3 things they're trying to do in each spot. Because if not, I'll look up and there's 10 guys waiting in line for a machine.
Sure.
And being a math guy, I'm like, you're so inefficient right now, because nobody's swinging at those 3 stations over there. You'd rather stand in line. So
I hate that.
So we use it that way. The one I saw, I was rewatching like Willie's stuff this weekend, and a kid had it on his back, and he had somebody like flipping a tennis ball or wiffle ball to him, and he was acting like he was trying to get the end of the bag, me doing it right-handed, trying to hit it with that. Didn't happen every time because he didn't have a longer element there. Yeah. But trying to it really, I think, got like that side bend in there and everything of where he needed to get on plane with that pitch, but also holding that water and keeping that from sloshing. Sure.
Yeah. Just the stability. Yeah. Like you said, grab and hold the ground and make sure you have that. Oh, it's really interesting. And I love the blending now too. Like, so like in the cage, you must do something like, let's say you do get really out. Okay, grab the water bag once. Let's go ahead and do this. Get your feel right. Then grab the bat back, or like grab a med ball. I've just been like, and I know it's a 108 stuff. And I've really, I just think there's a lot of stuff that unlocks during that stuff, man. I've been really impressed with that. Like that old school versus new school book. You were talking about that book, right?
Yep.
Yeah. One of the most incredible baseball books to read.
Yeah. No, it made so much sense. And, like I said, being able to apply those things, and then going up there and trying to, like watching the kids hit now and being like, oh, he naturally kicks back. Yeah. And this guy, he doesn't, but you try to get him to do it and he can't, because he doesn't get into that front side to let that backside kick back. He's still spinning on that back leg, and just trying to get him to feel those things and over exaggerate it and see who can move that way. Yeah. Like, I think it's been awesome. Yeah, even just to say, like, even we're classifying people as movers, like, oh, you can move like this, you can move like this. And even a guy like who I've been trying to give more power in his swings, just trying different ways he moves his feet. Like, just put your feet like closed stance, like Mike Schmidt used to do back in the day. Like, he was a closed stance dude and just ripped, you know? And all of a sudden, he's got 4 or 5 miles an hour on his exit velocity. Just by, I didn't tell him anything, just try your left foot in front of you, because he's such a loose mover.
All we did was take some of the slack out, and all of a sudden we're putting the head right on it, and I never would have thought anything like that. It would have been something about, I don't know what, but I just feel like there's
It was sacrilegious to tell them to close off that much.
Yeah.
That's what, we did the same thing. Go close 45, close 15 and regular. And we'd have their partner, with hit tracks back there going, okay, they're going to take three of each at close 45, 15 and regular. Which ones did they hit the ball hardest? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it was either in close 45 or close 15 were higher exit velos than their regular swing. Mm-hmm. Now, what happened the next time they hit? They went back to their regular stance.
Yep.
Like, hey, do we remember last time? Like, close that down a little bit. And then finally, like week 3, one kid got in the cage and he was closed down. And my coaches were like, you see him? He's figured it out. Like, that's where he hits it further. He's not going to wait for us to tell him. Mm-hmm. He's going right to that.
Yep. I'm out working with the kid last night, and all of a sudden, he said, that right foot. Like, yeah, like, do you forget? Like, we already, like, right. The radar gun even just said you hit it 5 miles an hour harder, right. And your bat speed didn't go down. Like, we're good. Like, what else? Your power numbers of the blast. Like, I just gave him just a simple power number. Like, you can just tell, like, your power number was just significantly, like, almost jumped a whole point. Like, that's a significant jump. Right. Like, that's significant,
right.
And so, and that's what I love about it too. Like you said, you kind of gave it to him earlier. Like, here's the line. Here's what the data says. You're batting 850 every time you hit this.
Right.
What else do you want to talk about?
Right. Well, why are we having this conversation about you turning and wanting to hit the ball a home run? And as I start, like when I look at hit tracks, I see the older guys doing that. I'm like, hey, there's no wind there. It's 72 on the computer. Like, it's not Ohio in March.
Oh, yeah.
A ball is not going to fly. Like, you hit it that far in the air, you better hit it 98 or 99 miles an hour. Because if not, left fielder takes 3 steps back, catches the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. With you, man. Oh, dude, this has been great. This has been awesome. Yeah, on the same page for sure. Dude, so man, all your practices are inside. You're looking forward to a field next year. So what are some of the great things that you do inside? Like, just think of practice planning, because a lot of guys that are probably listening to this too, like, they're Northeast guys. What are some of the great things that you do inside to kind of be creative and get the most out of your guys? Because I know you guys say you start off slow, but you guys definitely finish strong.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'd rather have that way.
That's right.
I think like one of the great things that we evolved into is, when we had our cages up there and we would be like, okay, you go from this T station to this T station, there'd be 4 T stations in one cage. So if you were a guy that started, and then a couple machines and maybe a coach throwing BP, if you started like over on that BP stuff, you could just watch their whole demeanor. Just, I'm going into the T cage. I got 4 straight stations of hitting off the T. So that's where, wherever we found it, of doing that 10-10-10 T warm up.
Yeah.
Where they all go in, and we'll put 2 T's in the cage and kind of put them both in the middle. So they're both hitting back to the other ends.
Yeah.
And then that way you can have like 2 guys on a T, or 3 guys, and you can get a whole lot of swings in. And then they're kind of done with their T work.
Okay.
Might mix in one more thing, but then like, okay, you guys did, that took 15, 20 minutes. You got your T work in. We got loose. We had a focus of what our angles we're going for. Are we grooving that swing? And then, okay, for the rest of practice, whatever, we have 45 minutes left, 50 minutes left. Like, we're getting after it with machines, and maybe it's live BP, coach BP, or we're going to do flips over on the side to really try and stay away from the T's to keep that energy up and that competition up. Has really worked well for us. Some days I go back and I'm like, okay, we got the old snake down this row. That's how we're doing it today. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I need to change like our hitting up each day. So they don't feel like it's the same thing.
Sure.
Or like how I said, go in this cage, you're in here for 15 minutes and you need to get all this done. And I'll just yell, rotate, go to the next one. Spend 15 minutes in each cage. Do it that way. And then really in 2008, when we got the turf soccer field out back, really, really changed things for us. Because like I said, we were playing on 100-foot inside asphalt infield.
Mm-hmm.
Now our shortstop could really play at a regular depth.
Okay.
Inside, our second baseman was always playing in the doorway to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
So that angle could be a little tough if he was bouncing off the door jamb to go backhand a ball and his face is rubbing off the wall. So
Right.
now we had freedom to move. And probably the biggest thing that we've added, like our base running, I just believe in being so aggressive and pushing the envelope with everything. Now I'll come back to school and we'll have teachers that come to a lot of our games and they're like, you got thrown out 3 times stealing last night, or that guy got thrown out going first to third. What was he thinking? And I was like, yeah, that's what you saw. That's the bad stuff. I go, but that guy that hit the double in the 4th inning, that's because my top base stealer was on first base and the catcher kept calling fastballs because he wanted to have a chance to throw him out.
Mm-hmm.
And so didn't even have to steal the bag, but the dude got 5 fastballs in a row and hits the double in the gap. Like, so, that's where I believe that running game and forcing that issue is tough on the defense and it's tough on the catcher, tough on the pitcher. So it really, really pressures that defense. So I love running, I have a green light for almost all my guys. I might in a year, we probably average stealing 100 to 110 bases a year.
Jeez.
In 25 games. And I might give the steal sign 25 times. So
how do you determine if a guy gets a green light or not? What's your system? How do you do that?
We're just taking those times from the catcher and the pitcher.
Okay.
And then in practice, multiple times we'll kind of get them out to their 12, 13-foot lead.
Mm-hmm.
And, usually I'm the pitcher on the mound so that I can vary up my stops and it's not a normal rhythm. And a coach has them on a clock that from when I lift my foot, how long it takes them to, and I don't even have them slide into second base, run straight through second base.
Just to get their steal start.
Just to get their times, keep doing it as they get more comfortable as we get into the season. And then the coach at first base is constantly telling them, here's the numbers. We've had the catcher at 2-0. Hey, if I know the catcher's 2-0, and then we don't make our guys do math over there. That'd be too much. So the first base coach, he's doing the math for them. Like, hey, this inning, this guy's the combo's a 3-5, 3-6 on the curveball. That was a 3-4, 3-5. So some of those guys know, like they get over there. If they hear 3-4, 3-5, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's awesome.
Yeah.
They get that.
So I was wondering. So I guess you don't get to work on that too much in a live scenario, do you?
Correct.
So it's all strictly so you will get a chance to actually just to work on that, or you just do that in the turf field there.
Right. We're doing it out back. Like I said, I'm usually the pitcher.
Yeah.
Sometimes we put our pitchers on the mound if they're working on their pick moves. And that's why those scrimmages, why I'll make sure I rent University of Cincinnati. I'll find some coaches that I know have it in their budget to help pay that fee because we need to get those scrimmages in because they need to see that stuff in action.
Yeah, there's just the timing of it, the fluidity of base running and things like that. Have you looked at, just kind of knowing who you are, and like you said, your first row of the clinics, and have you looked into like the new school system of base running, like with getting more of a volt lead and things like that?
Yeah, with Talarico.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like we have enough time to teach that. We're probably a little bit in that system when we're on second base.
Yeah.
To try, because I don't, my guys who try and steal with no momentum off second base are usually always out.
Yeah.
But the ones who I can get to have that momentum, but I don't have them like doing that vault lead.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do generate a lot of pickoff throws back to second base because guys know we're going to run, be aggressive. So we just need to do that. So I think when we get our field and we can, play a fall ball series and we're allowed to coach 10 days in the summer between in June and July, where it's full on coaching. So to be able to go out there and put the machine on the mound and, whatever, steal bases and talk about those things. It's just, I think that's really going to help our development, especially our young guys.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, given you for what you've done without a field is pretty incredible. I mean, I had no idea. It's pretty incredible. So, I mean,
You know,
what do
the
you think?
biggest
So,
thing,
go ahead, man.
I was just say the biggest thing was like finally going to my freshman and JV coaches and going, and for most of my career, my JV coach has been Mike Cameron that I took over the job for. He
Really?
took like 1 or 2 years off and he's come back to coach.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
he's like, this is the greatest. You got to do all that administrative BS stuff. Because I can just show up and run practice. Like, this is the greatest job ever. But like going to him and my freshman coach and saying, hey, I need you to start putting some of this base stealing stuff in.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? I was like, you need to figure out who you can give the green light to. And they're like, green light, like, oh, we don't want to do that. So trying to push them, like, it's okay, and like give them ownership. But also, if you yell at the first guy that gets thrown out,
oh yeah, that's the big thing.
no one's running.
That's it.
No one's running more. So you got to know guys are going to get thrown out.
Create the environment for sure.
Yeah.
Like that's what I told. It was funny. Like so this summer, I did with Mike, and I didn't have a steal sign. I said everyone's going to have it, so they don't even have a steal sign. I'm going to tell you, no, you're not going to steal. Right. Or like eventually we had a verbal. I'm like, for start, we don't have a steal sign. So everyone, if you see something, you're going to go. Yeah. And if you get thrown out, you're just going to make sure we have a conversation and just say, what'd you see? What was it like? I'm not going to go crazy on you, but you better make sure that you can verbalize to me what you saw and for the reason why you went.
Right.
But like that was an interesting thing. I was dealing with 18, 19-year-old kids. But I think just the mentality, I think base running is such a more mentality that to unlock and say, I don't have a steal sign.
Right.
Why?
Oh, yeah.
Because look at the picture. Like, look what the game is giving you to just take a base here, take a base there, go to first and third here. And that's funny. Like, I think about that now is like, it did, you don't have first and third sign, but it just allowed people to like be more aggressive on that first or third turn.
Right. That's what I mean. I can't wait till there's a field so we can watch balls get hit and go, why would you not even think about going first to third like that? You got to know that outfielder, when he takes 10 steps, even 3 steps away from third base, he can't turn and make that throw. That, that's automatic. I think the funniest thing when guys are like, it's so ingrained in these kids' heads that you cannot steal third base, or it's so hard to steal third base. And I'll tell them, like, when we go out to first scrimmage, I'm like, if you're on second base leading off and that catcher's given one sign, if you don't steal the second time he gives curveball, we have a major conversation.
Absolutely.
So there's one time we're losing. It's like the 6th inning. We're down like 3, and we shouldn't be running. Like the catcher's really good, pitcher's good. Like it's like we got to put together a rally here. And all of a sudden, my like 6'5" first baseman, who was fairly fast, but he just comes sliding into third. I was like, what are you doing? Like, this is not the right time. He's like, coach, one sign, second base, or a curveball, I was like, then, okay, he's thrown 3 in this at bat. Like, why are you just getting here now? Like, my bad, coach. My bad. Make sure, but like, I can't tell that they're giving one sign. You can. And
right.
As soon as you better get over here.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes it fun. They go back to the dugout and they're telling the rest of the guys, like, he's given one sign, or I figured out the sequence, and and that's when like, okay, we're gonna be really good.
Yep. Well, especially like I think stealing third is the easiest thing to do. Than stealing second. It's just because you're at such a better field, everything's in front of you. Yeah, you can see signs. Certain people, they're going to go certain places on the plate, whether fastball's coming or curveball's coming. Let alone what the guy on the mound does. He's going to tip his stuff anyways. But
it's changed a little bit because guys know that we are so aggressive. So it's been a little bit tougher in recent years. And just all those. I love the base running part and all those little things, like teaching them about dirt ball reads. And if you're trying to go to second base, well, if the ball bounces off the catcher and goes this way, he's got no chance when the ball's going towards third to throw you out. And then you see the light bulb go off that, you'd have to turn all the way around to make that throw.
Yeah.
Just all
how do you like to work on that? Like, what do you like do in practice to get him in that situation to work on it? Usually
I'll take like a bucket of tennis balls out and put the catcher in his gear. I guess with tennis balls, he doesn't need to. And, put a guy at each base.
Yeah.
And so just throwing fastballs and then throwing balls in the dirt, trying to throw some curveballs without blowing my elbow up with, that they're starting to get just more reps of seeing an actual ball be thrown from the mound,
Right.
to read angles.
Right.
What do you do? Anything to help?
Well, one thing to when I started, because I definitely do that. And I like all the bases too, because it's just different angle.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing when I started is I'll just put, instead of the catchers, I'll just put a screen on the plate, like
Okay.
a screen right on the plate. So if it hits the screen, like in the air, not doing anything. But if it hits before it, then that we should have everyone going. And again, everybody's at three bases.
Yep.
I find just start it like that. That way I'm not wearing out the catchers just so everybody can kind of see it. And it kind of is a nice visual. Everybody can hopefully see. And I typically try to put like the big, the one you put behind second base, the BP screen or the first base screen. And so you can really see it and, hits it in the air, stay, gets in front, go. So that's one thing. But same kind of thing. I just, then I put myself or put a pitcher on the mound and skip them or throw them a strike with the catcher there. So.
Right. Yeah. When you get the catcher in there, I like that, and then especially if the catching coach is there so he can prep his guys. But then that's where I like being able to talk to those guys. Like, look, when it hits this guy and it goes bouncing away, you're on second and that ball goes bouncing towards the first base dugout. Like that's automatic. Like you don't even have to think about that.
Yeah.
Like think about how far away he's going.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
It's almost like what you're teaching is like if he's got to get up to move to retrieve the ball, that's got to that's what we're looking at. Yeah, because that's really the screen doesn't do well. Like when we first do it, like you don't get to see that angle. Then if you have an actual guy out there, then he's got to get to his knees and then retrieve it, you get to see that.
Right, and getting your really fast guys to know like if I see the catcher drop to his knees, I don't even have to know where it goes.
Yeah,
Now, then they're medium and your slow guys. Like I got to know which way. Coach has got to yell.
Yeah.
So slow. But the fast guys, like he's going to his knees, get running.
That's right. See down angle and rock it.
And usually, like guys on second, I won't base hits the outfield. Send them all. Unless it's a line drive, one hopper at a guy. And then there's been some times where he's come around third and the guy's already throwing the ball home. And I was like, this guy's out by 40 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And then ball skips the catcher, goes over his head. Looks like a great decision. But again, I prep the guys. I'm like, if you're on second base, especially with 2 outs, I am not stopping you.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be embarrassed at the plate, get going. And I said, and sometimes you're going to get thrown out. So the other team's going to be pumped up, getting thrown out at home plate. But hey, you know what? Next inning, I'm going to do the same thing.
That's right.
So don't be all, upset. We're going. That's how we play.
Yeah, man. Oh, very cool. So got to talk some base running, man. Absolutely. So I'm just thinking about this kind of just maybe finish things up. Maybe the last half of the conversation here. The last end is thinking about the culture side, the mental side. The Big Mo. That's something to say in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Even just talking to a guy that I'm helping out with US Elite and said, "Hey, I'm going to talk to Coach Hell from Archbishop Moeller." Archbishop Moeller? Like Archbishop Moeller? I'm like, yeah. And so there has to be something to that. You've talked about your young kids coming in and what you're doing there. So like, how are you creating that? I'm sure you probably have standards in your program. What it means to be part of your program.
Yeah, I mean, learning, like I said, learning from Coach Kramer in basketball, Coach Cameron in baseball. Like, Coach Kramer in basketball, he's got 4 team principles. And Coach Cameron, had like 30 rules. And so, kind of playing off those 2 as I was learning, what I wanted my style to be, and be like, why do you got 4 things and, you got 30 rules? And one of the coaches like, hey, more rules you got, more rule breakers you got. So you want to kind of keep that simpler,
Mm-hmm.
to do the right thing, be your best, because that gives you that ability as a head coach to make it work for each player.
Mm-hmm.
You got 30 rules. That's a lot of things to keep track of. And guys are like, well, he didn't care about this one. So does he care about all of them?
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of gone, I've always worked on what our 4 pillars are and everything. And I always feel like I'm stealing from people. So
Mm-hmm.
I've never put my own on paper. So, just constantly with the coaches that, most of my coaches are out of house coaches. I've had a couple in. They're just trying to make good people and just trying to always talk to them about making those good decisions. You know, are you, there's always a video I show them, Dak Prescott sitting on the bench, starting quarterback for the Cowboys, goes to throw his Gatorade cup away that's 2 feet away, and he misses. And he looks at it on the ground, and he gets up and he goes and gets it. It's during the game. I mean, in an NFL game, he missed the trash can. He gets up and he goes and gets it. Like, that's the kind of guy we want, that he knows what's supposed to happen in every situation, and he executes that, whether that's in class, you know, acting the way he's supposed to act in class, turning his stuff in, getting his grades, how he walks the halls, how he interacts with his teachers. I think what happens, because we're always talking to them about those situations, and we have a lot of guys that want to follow that and want to play for us, that guys who don't follow that, fall into that, end up out of the program. And, you know, if you're not getting stuff done in class, you know, have I had guys that don't have very good grades and were great baseball players? Yes, but they weren't good practice players. They were just so extremely talented. They could get away with some things. But if you want to do things right for Moeller baseball, that starts the moment you get up, you know, and what you eat, and are you getting to school on time? Like I said, all the things in the classroom. Are you dressed right for practice? Do you have all your practice gear? Just constantly holding them to that line, in not a tiresome way, but just holding them accountable. And then we, at the end of the day, when we pick our teams, we have the right guys there. So I definitely could do a better job with, you know, getting our older guys mixed in with our younger guys. But like currently, our tryouts are in about 4 weeks. Currently, I've like 105 guys that say they're either trying out for one of our 3 teams.
Wow.
You know, and 45 of those are freshmen trying out for the freshman team. But it's a lot of guys. So,
Sure.
you know, so to always have my thumb on it, and you know, mixing the right junior seniors with the freshmen, you know, appropriately, where somebody's not going to get hurt. But, you know, I need to do a better job with that for sure.
Wow, 105. That's another thing to dive into there. So you don't really, with having the 3 teams, and also you only really having the indoor place, I guess. So will you actually just, some guys will be outside, like on that soccer field, and then some guys will be back in the indoor, and you kind of split things up like that?
Yeah, it's crazy. It takes my coaches like 3 years to figure out what my schedule is.
Big time logistics.
Yeah. So with that, those 6-man groups that we can do. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they all work out together with the strength coach from 3 to 4. And the freshmen don't go to the same weight room time. We don't have room for them. Okay. From 4 to 5, everybody goes to the weight room, and the freshmen do their throwing program and can go home. So during that 6-man, those 2 hours on Monday and Friday, the varsity is pulling guys on Mondays, and the JV is pulling guys on Fridays to do their 6-man hitting or pitching, whatever it is. So the cages are in use that day. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is kind of our open hitting. Varsity gets Tuesdays, freshmen get Wednesdays, and the JVs get Thursdays. So every day from 3 to 5, 3 to 5:30, there is hitting going on in our cages. And Monday, Wednesday, Friday, there's speed and strength going on with the strength coach. So, yeah, there's people all over. People slip through the cracks? Yeah, but we'll find them. You know, I've got about 10 coaches on staff. You know, we're helping with different pieces and keeping track of the throwing program, go out, check on the guys in the weight room. So, you know, between all of us, we find out who's likes to stand behind the post and talk and goes to the drinking fountain 35 times in an hour. You know, we do enough that cream's going to rise to the top.
Sure. I was wondering, when you talk about your strength stuff, you know, is that just really just the off season, or will you do any of that during the season as well?
Our schedule, we're on an alternating block schedule. So like the kids go to 4 90-minute classes on what we call an A day, and they go to 3 90-minute classes on the B day. And so we have like an extra 90 minutes then on that B day. And that's where they have a longer homeroom that takes 30 minutes of that. So it kind of leaves an extra hour. And so if there's assemblies or meetings, those always happen on that. So of those 90 B days that we have during the school year, probably about 45 of them are what we call a regular B day, where my juniors and seniors are out of school a little bit after 1 o'clock, if they're in good academic standing.
Right.
So they go to the weight room, they can get their lifting and then get some extra work in. So that's really helpful to us during the season.
Sure.
Of getting those guys in. It really falls off with the sophomores. And we haven't even been able, because of the COVID rules and everything and the size of our weight room, we haven't even gotten our freshmen in on our campus. They're kind of been on their own at their own facilities.
Man.
But our guys in our program, it probably happened 8 to 10 years ago. We had an awesome strength coach, and the guys, you could just see, like, the season ended, and he's calling me, and he's like, Tim, sorry about your loss today. 6 guys just texted me and wanted to know what time we can get in the weight room tomorrow.
That's awesome.
It was like, oh my gosh, here we go. So school's kind of changed how all that works, but we have an awesome strength coach and assistant strength coach. But, baseball gets a time, and, whoever.
Okay, so there's a strength coach for the school, but they'll
the school
get
hired
a specific
one like 3
time.
Years. Yeah. Like 3 years ago, we hired a school strength coach. Before that, it was up to me to fundraise the money to pay a strength coach to come to Moeller.
Right.
And work our guys out.
And then they're on board with that, like, extra, like you said, your regular B days too. Like, they're on that same schedule too, where the strength coach knows, hey, it's a regular B day. Okay.
Yeah. And because some of my juniors and seniors might not be able to do it. Like, they might have to, they might have a community service project they have to do. They might have to go make up a test. So not all of my guys can go in. Mm-hmm. And so there might be a couple other teams in there. So the strength coach knows on that regular B day, he's going to have 50 guys in there. And it's going to be some baseball guys, lacrosse guys, whatever, volleyball. So it's good for that part too, of those guys mixing with other teams as well.
Wow, Coach, this has been incredible, man. Like, this is great to get a little dive into their program and just doing some really awesome stuff, man. I came with 105 kids. That is incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy
right now. That's awesome. Well, Coach, is there anything else, man, you think we haven't touched on? You think you might want to dive into it all or anything, man?
I don't think so. I mean, we knocked out a fast 75 minutes.
That was a lot. I know, right? I
looked at the clock. I was like, holy cow.
It's hard to know. So let's say somebody wants to dive more into maybe some your hitting stuff or whatever you kind of touch base on. What's the best way to get in contact with you?
My email is theld@moeller.org. That's the best way. I'm on Twitter. I think it's just @TimHeld. At Big Mo Baseball. We're on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. So that's my other piece with when I was trying to find my analytics and video guy, none of them were interested in a social media piece. So one of our teachers' daughters who just graduated from college, she's going to help with some social media stuff. So try and take that to another level as well with all the stuff our guys are doing, and with COVID recruiting and stuff like that. And we've used Huddle for a couple years now to try and get enough video on these guys to put that out. But also, there's more creative people than this almost 50-year-old man here. So get somebody with some creative ideas and put some things out there and make sure that Moeller baseball is the place that everybody wants to be at. Yeah.
I can't wait to come out. Like I said, next summer, man. Next summer will be the time for us to come out for sure. Can't wait to see all that, especially with the new field and all. Oh man, that's gonna be awesome.
My new home. You might be going to the bathroom in a porta potty, but we're having turf field.
That's right. Turf field. It's gonna be great, man. It's gonna be great. But hopefully, I'll probably see you. Hopefully, let's hope we get an ABCA this coming January. Hopefully, I'll see you.
Yeah, it's gotta happen. Yeah, it's gotta happen. Other than going to Chicago and freezing.
Ooh, yeah, it's so cold. Done that one before. Yeah,
but after having this canceled, I don't think anybody will complain.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, but man, this has been incredible. I'm really glad that, we were able to make it happen. And I knew we'd have some great stuff to talk about, man, but just from the 108 stuff and Your base running stuff is great, and then just letting them know about what it means about big Mo player, man. I think it's important. Making great people, and keeping that going, man. That's and you're a great example of that too. So it's awesome, man.
Yeah, probably the only thing I'd throw in there about like that culture piece is at Thanksgiving and Christmas, like how many alums are like, when's the weight room open? When can we come hit?
Nice.
Moeller High School is a private school, so our guys are in all directions from Moeller.
Yeah.
In 30 minutes, some 40 minutes in all directions. And they want to come back and be in those cages. They want to see their teammates. They want to see the guys that, are still in high school that they connected with when they were juniors and seniors. So that part's awesome to hear from them and how many want to come back. They don't always lift a whole lot because they're talking, they're catching up. But that's what it's about. So that part I know is like where we're going in the right direction and building good people and everything.
Yeah.
So, thanks for having me, Trey.
Coach Tim Held from Archbishop Moeller, just killing it, having a great conversation. Can't tell you how many great baseball conversations I've had with him. Every year at the ABCA, some of the great conversations, and he's a learner, he's a leader, and overall is a great example for his program, for the people in and surrounding him. And just loved that he talked about how building competitions, giving external cues through his hitting, getting that hit trax back in 2014. That's a while ago. I mean, that's early stuff, and they really bet on a really big piece of equipment that now you and Dick's Sporting Goods, and they're testing bats with hit trax now, and but that's something he had in his own program since 2014, and just how purposeful they're doing that, and they're creating jobs for people to watch video and analyze the data that they're getting from the hit trax and getting from blast, and so people can see that the reasons why they're doing what they're doing, and that's how he's able to, what he talked about, blending the old school and new school, where it's like, yeah, here's what I'm going to tell you doing, but here's the proof of why. Here's what's showing you why we should be doing those things, and so the data just kind of helps prove his points, and it's almost like being a track coach where the stopwatch doesn't lie, and here's where you're at, and just to know the kind of success they've had, and they've really just had their little indoor facility, and they just had to practice on the soccer field until they've gotten to play their games. It really speaks to their creativity, to the purposeful work that they're doing. I think one thing's, yes, it's tough to coach in the Northeast when you're coaching, trying to coach baseball in spring, but that's where a lot of the coaches are innovators. That's where a lot of the coaches, you see very purposeful work when it comes to a indoor practice, because you have to spend so much time there. It's part of what you do. So, to just get in the cage, have 10 people standing in the line waiting to hit off the coach being BP, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. And you just go to a coach like Coach Held and you hear what he has to say about what you would do in there. They wouldn't have the track record they do if they had 10 people standing in line waiting for them to hit off the coach. So there's a lot of valuable information there, along with how he discusses his pillars. He's Eugene Bleecker. If anybody hasn't read the Old School versus New School book by Eugene Bleecker at 108 Performance, highly recommend it. It's a game changer. Really make you think things through just differently. Some things you don't have to buy in, but at least it makes you think of, like, am I really all about this? Just really causes you to think, and I think that's what books do. They just kind of challenge you. And I think that just goes to show what he's learning. He's certified in Eugene Bleecker stuff, dove into it, just trying to learn more about it. And been there 25 years, been at Moeller 25 years, been a 25-year coach, and he's continuing to learn, continue to grow, continue to get better. His green light system with his base runners and how they're timing guys. Again, showing them the data. Here's what it is. Here's what you need to do to get the green light. Make sure they have a combination between. What that means is how long the pitcher takes, how long the catcher takes to throw, how long the pitcher takes to get home, how long the catch takes gets from catch the ball and throw it to second base. If that time is higher than what it takes you to run from the first to second, you get the green light. So again, but it's just the data. It's just them creating it, showing them it's purposeful, showing them that here's why you're doing it. So again, if you need to reach out to him in any other way, great man. Can't thank him enough. Really privileged to know Coach Held at Archbishop Moeller. So again, his email is theld, THELD, at Moeller, MOELLER.org. Again, find him on Twitter at Tim Held, at Big Mo Baseball, Twitter, Instagram. And like I said, he's now got a new job for someone to do even better job of their social media and helping them out there. So always continue to get better, which I love about him. And such a great baseball man and great person. So, Coach L, can't thank you enough. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next week, keep getting better.